A woman of intrigue and resilience emerged as a prominent figure in the Elizabethan court. Born into a lineage intertwined with royalty, she progressed the grandniece's connection to Queen Elizabeth I herself. Her life was marked by love, scandal, and personal tragedies, from her clandestine union with Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, to the loss of her beloved son and husband. She navigated the treacherous currents of courtly life with unwavering determination. She possessed an enduring spirit, and her relentless pursuit of her rights and legacy left an indelible mark on history. As the Countess of Leicester, she defied societal expectations and carved her own path, forever etching her name in the annals of the Elizabethan era. So join me now as we look back on the incredible life of Lettice Knowles. In the realm of the Elizabethan court, power and intrigue were woven, giving birth to whispers and sparking envy and displeasure. Lettice Knowles, a woman whose name was like a velvet secret on the lips of the elite, held a lineage deeply intertwined with the fabled Queen herself. As Anne Boleyn's grandniece and Elizabeth's unfortunate mother, Lettice had shared a childhood with the monarch, one that had remained closely acquainted throughout her life. In the hallowed halls of Rotherfield Greys, Lettice Knowles emerged into a world gripped by relentless power struggles and religious fervour. Born into the esteemed lineage of Sir Francis Knowles and Catherine Carey, she carried the blood of royalty and rebellion within her veins. As one of 16 siblings, she embodied the resilience of her Protestant family, who sought refuge in distant lands to escape the clutches of Queen Mary's persecution. But amidst the turmoil, Lettice's destiny became linked with the enigmatic Princess Elizabeth. They forged a bond through their shared heritage, a kinship that transcended bloodlines. While her parents sought refuge abroad, Lettice's path took a different turn. Perhaps it was in the hallowed halls of the princess's household that she found sanctuary, basking in the presence of the woman who would one day ascend the throne. With the winds of change ushering in Elizabeth's reign, Lettice's family returned to the shores of England, rewarded for their loyalty with prestigious positions within the royal court. Sir Francis Knowles assumed the role of Vice-Chamberlain, while Lady Knowles graced the inner chambers as a senior lady. Lettice, now a young maid, stepped into the Privy Chamber, where whispered secrets and hidden ambitions were sought. At the tender age of 17, Lettice embarked on her journey into the treacherous world of courtly matrimony, bound to Walter Devereux, Viscount Hereford, who would later become the Earl of Essex. However, fate had a twisted game in store for her, as rumours of her involvement with Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, began to taint her reputation. The scandalous murmurs peaked when her husband met a tragic end, succumbing to the cruel grip of dysentery. In the aftermath of her husband's untimely demise, Lettice Knowles was caught in a web of whispers and shadows, where layers of political intrigue and personal vendettas obscured the truth. The streets murmured scandalous tales, speaking of a forbidden love affair that supposedly blossomed between Lettice and Robert Dudley, the charismatic Earl of Leicester. Yet while tongues wagged, Lettice's whereabouts remained shrouded. Fragments of evidence emerged, tantalising puzzle pieces. One such was a gift of venison sent by Leicester during a clandestine hunting visit to Kenilworth Castle, hinted at a connection and intimacy shared between them. And when the magnificent festival at Kenilworth unfolded, Lettice stood in the presence of her queen and the enigmatic earl, their gazes betraying a secret known only to a select few. But fate, like an unforgiving mistress, had a cruel hand to play. Walter Devereux, the Earl of Essex, left Lettice a widow, burdened with shattered dreams. Poisonous whispers swirled through the air, accusing Leicester of betrayal and extinguishing Essex's flame to claim his place. Yet official investigations brushed these allegations aside, cloaking the truth in denial. Now left with a meagre jointure, unable to sustain her family, Lettice sought refuge in the home of friends and her father's estate at Rotherfield Greys. Her resilience, however, refused to be extinguished. She sparred with authorities, demanding an increase in her monies, threatening to claim her rightful dower rights that would secure a future for her children. But even as Lettice fought for her family's legacy, the burden of her son's inheritance loomed. The young Earl of Essex carried heavy debts to the crown, a cloud threatening to consume him. In desperate pleas to the Queen, Lettice attempted to sway her benevolence to alleviate the weight pressing upon her beloved son's shoulders, but alas, her efforts proved in vain, for forgiveness was a scarce commodity in the ruthless court of Elizabeth. Within the secret chambers of Wanstead Hall, as the dawn's light caressed the earth, Lettice Knowles and Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, sealed their fates in a clandestine union. A select gathering witnessed the solemn vows exchanged between the forbidden lovers, including Lettice's father and brother and Leicester's closest confidants. Whispers of a loose gown worn by the bride fueled rumours of a hidden truth, a pregnancy, perhaps an absolute pressure driving the hasty union. Leicester had long harboured a burning desire to wed Elizabeth the Queen, but fate had ordained a different path that crossed his destiny with Lettice's. Yet fearing Elizabeth's wrath, Leicester demanded utmost secrecy, a veil to shroud their forbidden love. Alas, secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks, and whispers soon reached the ears of the French ambassador, exposing the truth a mere 2 months later. When the Queen discovered the marriage, her fury knew no bounds. Lettice, forever branded an enemy, was permanently banished from the court she once called home. Elizabeth's jealousy seethed like a storm, her resentment casting a shadow over Lettice's every move, even her mere presence in the bustling streets of London. The once glowing summer visits to Kenilworth, where husband and wife revelled in stolen moments, became memories of a bygone era, lost to the chasms of royal disapproval. In the wake of their illicit union, Lettice clung to the title of Countess of Essex, a lingering vestige of her past life, yet her existence became veiled in discretion. Seeking solace within the Knowles family home and residing with her kin in Oxfordshire, Lettice shielded herself from prying eyes, her actions known only to a select few. Within her household, she managed her finances, utilising her Dowager Countess of Essex status to support her expenses and servants, a committed effort to carve out a semblance of autonomy. But tragedy struck when their young son Robert Lord Denbigh died abruptly, dashing hopes of a Dudley dynasty. Grief enveloped the household as Leicester withdrew from his courtly duties, seeking solace in the comforting embrace of his sorrowful wife. The Earl's absence drew the rage of Elizabeth, who seemed incapable of understanding the depth of their loss and the ache that consumed them. In an unfortunate turn of events, Leicester ventured to the Netherlands, igniting the Queen's anger. Rumours of a grand entourage accompanying the Countess swirled through courtly whispers, fueling Elizabeth's indignation. Yet the truth held firm. Their plans did not include a rendezvous in Holland. And amidst the crisis, Lettice's troubled heart found solace when William Davison, a messenger from Leicester, reassured her of his actions and the steps taken to appease the Queen's outrage. But fate would not relent. Leicester's return to England was short-lived, duty calling him back to the Netherlands, leaving Lettice bereft. This separation weighed heavily on their souls, as noted in a heartfelt letter from the young Earl of Essex. In a cruel twist of destiny, Leicester met his unexpected demise at Cornbury Park, forever severing their earthly bond. The funeral that followed saw Lettice standing alongside her husband's lifeless form, surrounded by a sea of mourning faces, her family gathered in solidarity. The chapters of their forbidden love had closed, a love that defied convention, leaving scars and whispers in its wake. Now a widow, Lettice Dudley was burdened with the weight of her late husband's financial legacy. Robert Dudley's staggering £50,000 worth of debt loomed like a spectre over her union, threatening to diminish the wealth that should have been hers. Advised to avoid dealing with such overwhelming debts, Lettice grappled with the repercussions of her husband's financial affairs. In a surprising twist of fate, Lettice sought solace and companionship in the arms of Sir Christopher Blount, a Catholic soldier and trusted friend of her late husband. This couple, now met with astonishment and disapproval by many, defied societal expectations and whispered conventions. But Lettice, forever the defenceless widow, justified her choice, claiming the need for security and happiness. In a world still rife with gossip and innuendo, she found comfort in a marriage that defied the shadows of her past. Tragedy continued to haunt Letitia's life. Her second son, Walter Devereux, met an untimely demise while on military duty in France, leaving her heart heavy with grief. As her eldest son, the young Earl of Essex, faced trials and tribulations, Lettice became a beacon of support. Her heart ached for her sweet Robin, yearning for his letters and helplessly witnessing his bouts of melancholy and despair. Faced with her continued banishment from court, Lettice saw little reason to return to the bustling streets of London without reconciliation with Queen Elizabeth. However, a glimmer of hope emerged in 1597 when rumours of the Queen's willingness to consider peace terms reached her ears. Preparing for a winter journey, Lettice contemplated a possible reunion, but her expectations were tempered. She mused that country life was more befitting of disgraced individuals like herself, acknowledging the limitations imposed upon her by the court's judgment. In a fleeting moment of connection, Lettice finally met the Queen, their lips brushing in a brief kiss, but the meeting yielded no real change. Lettice remained on the outskirts of royal favour, forever yearning for a reconciliation that seemed just out of reach. The tumultuous events of her son's Essex's life only deepened Letitia's turmoil. Now imprisoned and facing trial, Essex's fate hung in the balance. Lettice journeyed to London seeking to intercede on his behalf. Her attempts to reach out to the Queen only heightened tensions as suspicion grew over her interactions with her troubled son. In the wake of Essex's revolt, trial and execution, Lettice witnessed a comprehensive personal disaster, losing her beloved son and her third husband, Sir Christopher Blount. Grief-stricken, Lettice retreated to her sanctuary in Drayton Basset, her heart heavy with loss. The echoes of her tumultuous life reverberated through the halls of her residence, carrying the weight of a mother's love and a widow's sorrow. However, within those walls she found solace in an unexpected companion, Mary Cresswell, a soul yearning for a different path. Lettice and her chaplain embarked on a journey to reshape Mary's destiny, guiding her away from her desire to become a nun and towards the Protestant faith. Their bond grew, an unspoken understanding between two women navigating the treacherous currents of religion and identity. Little did they know that their story would endure, etching itself into the annals of history, as Mary's life would become a well-known tale. The tangled web of legal disputes ensnared Lettice Knowles, the indomitable Countess of Leicester. In the wake of Essex and Blount's executions, a battle erupted over her remaining property. Lettice asserted that Blount had squandered her jewels and much of her once vast wealth in his efforts to settle Leicester's debts. The flames of litigation scorched their legacy as the Countess fought for what was rightfully hers. The winds of change blew with the passing of Queen Elizabeth I in 1603. As a new monarch ascended the throne, James I brought with him promise of redemption. Lettice, forever resilient, witnessed the restoration of her grandson, the third Earl of Essex, to his father's title and estate. And to further dispel the shadows of her past, the king cancelled the remaining debts she owed to the crown, releasing her from the shackles of financial burden. Yet the Earl of Leicester will cast a long shadow over Letitia's peace. The intentions within it ignited a fierce legal battle. Leicester had designated his illegitimate son Robert Dudley as the heir to Kenilworth Castle, bypassing Letitia's jointure rights. Upon Warwick's passing, the tangled threads of the legal proceedings unravelled, questioning the foundations of Letitia's union with Leicester. In a bold move to protect her legacy, Lettice filed a complaint against Dudley in the formidable Star Chamber. Supported by Sir Robert Sidney, who considered himself the rightful heir to Leicester and Warwick, she aimed to silence the whispers of defamation. Testimonies poured forth, recounting Leicester's acknowledgement of Dudley as his illegitimate son. The scales tipped in Letitia's favour, the evidence impounded to bury any traces of doubt. Throughout the ebb and flow of her life, Letitia remained a pillar of strength for her family. Her unwavering love extended to her siblings, children and grandchildren. Penelope and Dorothy, her steadfast daughters, stood by her side until their respective passings. The young 3rd Earl of Essex, Robert, found solace and companionship in the presence of his venerable grandmother, sharing his journey with her through the halls of Chartley and Drayton Bassett. Letitia persisted as time wove its tapestry. Her stubborn spirit defied age constraints, and even at the cusp of her 90th year, she continued her daily walks, a testament to her resilience. But on that fateful Christmas morning of 1634, Letitia drew her last breath, nestled in her chair. The world mourned the passing of a symbol of a bygone era, a woman who had weathered storms and challenges with unwavering grace. Her final wish echoed through the annals of history. Letitia yearned to rest beside her beloved husband, the Earl of Leicester, in the hallowed grounds of Warwick, and so her wish was granted. Within the Beauchamp Chapel of the Collegiate Church of St Mary, Letitia found her eternal repose, her final resting place opposite the tomb of her cherished son, young Lord Denbigh. Her legacy, a tapestry woven with love, resilience and defiance, would forever be etched in the collective memory of those who remembered the obstinate spirit of Letitia Knowles, always the Countess of Leicester.